Our trip started from Ellesmere Port in the Manchester Ship Canal. We motored through in the canal that leads to the lock that opens to Liverpool Bay. The air temperature was below 10 degrees as the previous day had been snowing. The water temperature was probably 7 or 8 degrees Celsius. Once out of Liverpool Bay, we started making way for Anglesey and the Skerries. We had a 60 miles beat towards the Skerries, and it was wet and bumpy, but the prospect of turning the corner and heading south kept the spirits up. The trip is almost 500 miles, so we didn't know whether we were going to stop along the way. We listened to the weather forecasts and checked on our mobile phones on Wind Guru to see what was going on. I had never sailed on Outlandish, and being used to my camper and my spray hood, I was certainly testing my comfort zone. Being an Italian hot-blooded softy, by this stage I was looking like the Michelin Man, wearing more clothes than I ever owned in my life. I was wearing 4 layers of thermals, my dry suit and all my oilies on top, with balaclava and scarf. I had forgotten my shampoo, but otherwise the shower facilities on board were excellent. At this stage I had remembered that in Italy we had invented a thing called the Mediterranean Sea, but obviously, apart from pizza and spaghetti, this had not been imported yet in the UK. Actually, once we turned the corner of Anglesey and we headed south with the wind following us, everything turned quiet, and all the way till the morning it was a very pleasant sail. The boat is very pleasant to sail downwind, so we made the most out of the northwesterly wind, making good progress along Cardigan Bay, eating and sleeping. By Tuesday lunchtime the wind had swung to the west, so we were reaching towards Land's End. The weather forecast indicated the possibility of a gale for Sate during the night on Wednesday morning, so we were pondering our options. To our port, a few miles ahead, we had Milford Haven, and after some deliberation among the two of us, we decided it'd be a jolly good idea to stop for a warm meal, a nice sleep in harbour, and then carry over the next day. This had the advantage of leaving the worst of the weather behind us, and then leaving the morning again with northwesterly winds to follow us all the way to Land's End. Stopping in Milford Haven worked out really well, because after a good night's sleep we left and we had perfect conditions to make a very good progress towards Land's End.
Llego a Puerto, voy para Mayarí. De Alto Cedro voy para Macané. Llego a Puerto, voy para Mayarí. De Alto Cedro voy para Macané. Llego a Puerto, voy para Mayarí. Que tengo, no te lo puedo negar, se me sale la babita, yo no lo puedo evitar.
By 10 p.m. on Wednesday the 26th, we were approaching Land's End. Our course over ground was about 200 degrees true. We were making course to round the the Longship Lighthouse, then the Runnelstone Cardinal, then towards the Lizard, start point, and heading towards the Solent. As we approached Longship, the wind was 20-25 knots west-northwest. Towards the Runnelstone we were running downwind, and past the Runnelstone we proceeded on the same tack. We discussed the opportunity of jibing, but it was too early to clear the Lizard, so since I was pretty tired by now, I decided to go for a sleep. I was feeling nervous, as the proximity of land always makes me feel so. Although I stayed below an hour, I hardly slept. Meanwhile, the wind shifted, and Graham managed to throw in a jibe that put us on course to the Lizard and towards the start point afterwards. At about 12:30 I came out of my bunk to give Graham a much-deserved change of watch, as he had been standing outside in the cold and he needed to warm up. He briefed me as to the position, the distance to the Lizard, the course of the ground, and then he went to sleep. To be honest, I was still half asleep, and I didn't make much out of what he said. Boat speed was 8 to 10 knots, so we were proceeding very fast. I did not check the positions on the chart, but I was feeling uncomfortable as to the angle at which we were approaching the Lizard. So I keyed in first 5, then plus 10, and then another 10 degrees into the autopilot, at which stage I was close to a jibe, so unless I jibed there wasn't much more that I could key in. Although I keyed in more than 25 degrees into the autopilot, our course over ground didn't change by much. The current was turning around the headland, altering our course, and we were proceeding at about 90, 95, at times 100 degrees course over ground. By this stage I was growing paranoid about our position, but I put it down to the poor sleep I had earlier. I thought I was being panicky, and then I should just relax because everything was fine. I couldn't judge the distance, but then it's difficult to judge distances of lights at night, and I thought we must be much further away than I think we are. So I didn't do anything about it, and just kept on looking at the Lizard, minute after minute, as we were approaching it quite fast. Meanwhile, in my paranoid state, I was seeing things in the shade of every wave. The moon was shining, and there was plenty of black patches everywhere. The depth went from 36 meters to 25, 20, 18, 20, and yet I still didn't do anything about it. I kept on juggling my attention between the speed of the ground, the course of the ground, looking at the Lizard, and I had not consulted the chart, so I didn't really have a clue. My spatial awareness was obviously gone, but the GPS was already pointing to start point, so didn't have much help from it. Then I stare into the dark and I see a black patch. This time it doesn't seem to move, it's there, until I pass to my port, no more than 10 meters away, a bunch of rocks with breaking waves. I'm in total shock. I call Graham, who comes on deck in his socks and calls immediately a jibe. Immediately after the jibe I see more rocks to starboard. I push the tiller and we leave them narrowly to our starboard. We then proceed, Graham holding the course, as I watch the rocks behind us with the breaking waves over them. The depth increases rapidly, and very soon we are again in 50 meters of water away from danger. We had passed no more than half a mile away from the Lizard Lighthouse, in between the rocks. After a little more excitement with a close encounter with a fishing vessel, we set course to start point. The rest of the trip is much calmer and eventless. But we have a lot of thinking to do, and perhaps a chance to learn some lessons. We sailed the rest of Thursday in very light conditions, eventually making it into Cowes at about 2:30 AM on Friday. I may have lost one of my 9 lights, but what a trip. I really enjoyed it.
It's wonderful, it's wonderful, it's wonderful. Good luck, my baby, it's wonderful, it's wonderful, it's wonderful. I dream of you.